Hey everybody, this is a quick demo of the CarLinkLife CarPlay and Android Auto integration for the L405 Range Rover with the Bosch head unit. Right away we get in here. One thing I really like about this, the factory logo still shows up as it would if this was a factory installation. I like that it looks unmodified from how it came from JLR. Once we start the vehicle, what you'll see is that it boots into the standard Bosch menu. A couple things I want you to notice here. One, I've set my source to auxiliary, and two, I have not paired my phone with the factory system, and that's really important. The reason why is if you pair it with the factory system, then what ends up happening is sometimes you will encounter a problem where your audio will not play to the correct head unit. Instead of playing to the CarPlay unit, it'll stream it over to the Bosch head unit. We don't want that, so make sure that you've removed your phone pairing from the factory system once you've installed this one. You'll also notice that the nav is blank. That's because what this unit is doing is it's actually taking that navigation signal and using that from the vehicle. So you should have really good luck with when you've got your phone connected to CarPlay. What can sometimes happen in these Range Rovers that have a lot of this solar glazing on the windscreen and the sunroof is that you actually have some difficulty getting GPS lock. This fixes that. I found really good results. I use Waze myself, and Waze GPS lock has been fantastic with my iPhone 15 Pro. Once we push that, we get into CarPlay. So that factory nav button will be your entry point for CarPlay. Keep that in mind. Once we get in here, you'll notice that Waze pops right up. Everything is really nice and bright and sharp on this screen. And if I go into the icons here, it's really nice and smooth. It's a great integration. I really like what they've done here. I can go into Spotify. Now I've muted my audio system so I don't get a copyright strike in showing you this. Now I've muted my audio. Now, what I want to show you is a question. This gets asked quite a bit on a lot of the forums when people talk about all the options for adding CarPlay to these older systems. Does the steering wheel control work for changing tracks? Well, let me put that to bed right now. Yes, it does, and it is quick. I found with my older system on my Range Rover Sport L320 from NavTool that because it used Bluetooth, one, I actually couldn't use the steering wheel controls whatsoever because it was going through aux, but also when I changed tracks on the phone, it still had a bit of a delay before it changed for what you heard over the audio system. This is nice and quick. Fantastic integration they've done here. Going back to what I said before about I like things to look factory and stock, is I expect that I should still be able to use stuff like 4x4 info when I do one of these integrations. What I liked about the nav tool in my L320 was that it was able to do that. And I can do that with this too. So if I press and hold this home button for a few seconds and then let go, it'll take me back to this home menu again. I can then go in here and I can go use 4x4 info. I can go to my ambient lighting, my cameras, etc. Following on that factory integration, if I want to turn my massaging heat on, or my massaging seats on, because who wouldn't if you have them, notice the overlay pops up over CarPlay. It doesn't boot me back to the Bosch menu for the purposes of showing this. This overlay is on top. This makes it look like this came from the factory this way. I love it. Fantastic. Go back here, I can get right back to CarPlay doing what I was doing. With reverse, so I've got a reverse camera. I've actually got the junction cameras up front. I've got the cameras on the mirrors, and I've got the rear camera for reversing. So if I pop into reverse right now, that'll automatically change over to the reverse camera, and then I can do my reverse. And once I'm done and I put it into drive or into park or whatever I'm doing, it'll wait a few seconds, and then it'll switch right back to CarPlay. Exactly what you would expect out of a factory system. This does it too. Now, I do mention quite a bit that I use the nav tool system in my L320 Range Rover Sport. I really liked that integration. However, there are some limitations with their implementation in the L405, and it's one of the reasons I didn't go with them. So right off the bat, it doesn't use the touchscreen. If you use the nav tool on this, you can't use the touchscreen. Instead, they give you this little remote control that on like a watch strap, and you have to stick it onto your steering wheel. I thought that looked pretty not great. I wasn't a fan of that implementation. I wasn't about to do that. So not being able to use the touchscreen and having to use a remote control, I'm out. The other thing is it required an external microphone. This, for taking phone calls, uses the factory microphone. What a novel concept. So it's a really nice and clean integration that CarLinkLife has done with their unit here, where others failed. I'm not going to make an install video for this, as I didn't make one for my L320 nav tool video. Quite honestly, there's so many videos on YouTube of how to install this, what to remove, and it just doesn't make sense for me to do it. Plus, it's already in there. What I will say is this: you remove this panel here, you undo a bunch of screws to take out these two control pads here and the screen, then you'll pop off these aluminum pieces on the side, you'll take off this piano black veneer, you'll take out this climate control, and you'll take out the CD. The CD is actually your stereo, so you'll be interacting with harnesses going into both the CD and the screen. And then you'll put it all back together. While you're installing it, do not get cute with the cable management. You can leave that until the end. Don't try and do it as you go, believe me. I tried that, and it just made the install really, really painful. Down here, there is, it's kind of hard to see, but in that passenger footwell, there is carpeting. And if you pull that back, you'll be able to get access to the center stack here, where you can run those wiring harnesses up. And where I installed the actual unit is just right in the corner there underneath the carpeting. So this carpeting does have a really nice thick rubberized layer on the bottom. You're not going to get, snow and stuff, damaging the unit with moisture or anything like that. So that's where I installed it, and then just ran all the cables up here. What I did for my own, you'll notice my phone's not plugged in. What I did for my own USB and USB-C and lightning cable is just ran it underneath that trim piece where the carpet tucks into, and then just up here and tucked it in to that little trim. It's really all you need to do. Now, if you do like this system, want to get one of your own, it's CarLinkLife.com. I don't work for them. I'm not a representative of theirs in any way, shape, or form. I don't get affiliate money or have affiliate links or anything like that. Just go and check out their website. Don't ask in the comments if they have a kit for your car. I don't know. Go look at the website. I assure you all your prayers and questions and things will be answered there. Do like, comment, and subscribe. I am going to be doing this install on my summer vehicle, probably closer to the fall, so that should be an interesting one. One more thing before we finish up. By the way, if you press and hold that, it brings up Siri, which I didn't intend to do. We go to home here. This will take you to the settings for the actual unit itself, and there's a few options in here that we'll just go over quickly. So music is for playing music off of a USB key you've plugged directly into the unit. We're not using that. CarPlay or Android Auto, depending which platform you're using. Screen mirroring is to mirror the screen of any device you've got here, whether it's plugged in or wirelessly. If you're using CarPlay or Android Auto, it'll tell you this option is not available. Bluetooth is for using Bluetooth instead of wireless, like Wi-Fi streaming. Wi-Fi streaming is a lot more responsive, and I think it ends up having much better audio quality than Bluetooth, so use that if it's an option for you. Video, same thing. If you've got a USB stick with some videos on it, you can play those on this unit. This does not have HDMI in, so if you're looking for that, pick a different unit. I'm going to go into settings real quick and just explain some of these things and some of the changes that I made. So from the factory, the volume is set to the max of 32. I don't know why they picked 32 as a max, but they did. I backed that off a little bit just to make sure that there's no audio clipping, give me a little bit of headroom. Also, the navigation volume, I use Waze, and I found that the audio for the voice turn by turn came off a little, it was like almost like it was clipping. So I backed it down to about 20. I got much better results doing it that way. One thing to point out, the navigation volume from your nav apps like Waze and Google Maps and so on is on a separate slider than your music volume. Great idea. I think it's fantastic. On the Auto Start Phone Link app checkbox, it hasn't worked for me. If you notice, I got into the vehicle, started it, it presented the main, like the home menu for the Bosch system. It didn't automatically start CarPlay for me. I don't know why. It just kept it in the factory system, and I had to go into nav manually and do it. The nice thing about the nav tool is it did automatically take over and boot you straight into CarPlay or Android Auto, whichever one you were using. Not really a big deal. I have to tap the nav thing to get into this. Whatever. Car setting, this is where you'll set up what cameras you have. If you're using a aftermarket one, or if you have the 360 camera on yours, then you'll make that change here. Display is just your brightness, contrast, saturation. Sound, I'm leaving this as flat. I have the Meridian audio system, so I'd much rather that the factory head unit does all of the equalization and sound effects rather than this Android box or whatever operating system it's running to do all of this stuff. So I just left that alone and left it as flat. But there you have it. That is the CarLinkLife Android Auto and Apple CarPlay system for the L405 Range Rover running the Bosch head units. Again, like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, please do let me know. And have a great day, everyone. Take care of yourselves.